As I edited video 3, Grid Settings and Measurement Units, I realized that maybe I should do a follow-up video that explains a couple of things about how the grid and snap settings look in the real world. So that led to this video. Now, some of you are used to dealing with the grid and snap settings, but there are others who may not have used a CAD program before, and I've noticed in the past that when I taught CAD to my colleagues that the snap value settings can be a tad bit confusing. So hopefully I can make my previous ramblings make a little more sense for you. Now here's the basic board you see when you open Express PCB Plus. If we use a Control, shortcut, we get the grid settings box like this. And as we can see, the grid is set for 0.1 inch for the grid dots or points, and 0.025 inch for the snap value. Now we're going to use those values for my demonstration. Now you of course might use different values. The basic principles are the same no matter what your settings or your measurement units are. So I'm going to X out of the grid settings dialog box like this. Now let's zoom in really far on the drawing, and I'm going to use the mouse scroll wheel for this. Now here's a section of the grid, and I have included just a small portion of the grid, 5/10 of an inch wide and 2/10 of an inch high. Now over here in this corner, I have X's indicating where the snap points are between the grid points. My grid snap is set to 0.025 inch, so there are 4 snap points between each grid point or grid dot. I like to call them grid points. Now, just so you know, that blue line that popped up indicates the outline of an image that you have inserted into an Express PCB Plus drawing. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about how to insert an image into a drawing. But for right now, let's get back to grid and grid points. So, with a 0.1 inch grid and a 0.025 inch snap, I will have 4 snap points between my grid points. If I count starting at this grid point right here, let's put my mouse right there, and excluding this point, I'll count 4 snap points in the X direction like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 4 snap points in the Y direction like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that pretty much basically shows you where the snap points are between grid points. However, there are more points than just these. The snap points fill the space between the 4 grid points like this. Now here I've once again placed X's representing all of the snap points between the 4 grid points. And as you can see, among these 4 grid points right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I have 21 X's indicating 21 places that you can snap to right here. And if I count the 4 grid points, there are 25 places within this little area that I can snap an entity to. Now, of course, your board does not contain only 4 grid points, but a whole bunch of them. If we add in the snap points for the other grid points, it starts to look something like this. Now you can see just how busy that snap value setting can make your grid. Just between these 6 grid points right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we have 39 snap points. And counting the grid points, we have 45 snap points. Now imagine this across the entire drawing space. You can also see how close the snap points are together, and this is why I like to work with 4 snap points. In fact, let me show you what 4 snap points looks like on a drawing that is zoomed out and showing the entire drawing. Really tiny, isn't it? I changed the X's to red dots for the snap points so you can get a better idea about how close together they are. But just between these 9 grid points right here, that one, that one, that one, and then across like that, we have 81 places an entity can snap to. Now, if we zoom in on this a little bit, you'll see why I like to zoom in when I'm placing an entity. Okay, let me explain that just a little bit more. I don't mean to say that I always zoom in on the grid when I place an entity in the drawing. 95% of the time, I'm going to take an entity and I'm going to drop it into the drawing space, and it will snap to wherever it's going to snap to. And usually it snaps to where I want it. And usually it will go where I want it because I am putting it on a grid point. I only zoom in when I need to put something between grid points. I'm only saying this because I didn't want you to listen to what I say and then think, oh, I always have to zoom in or out when I'm placing an entity. No, you don't have to do that. You only have to zoom in when you are placing an entity, and you want to make sure it is in the right spot if it is not on a grid point. Okay, just to belabor the point a bit, let's take a gander of what 8 snap points looks like. So, as you can see, we can now place parts with much more accuracy, but it's getting really, really tight between the grid points with that many snap points. In fact, if we add in all of the snap points like this, there are now 81 snap points counting the grid points. And like I said earlier, your grid doesn't consist of only 4 grid points. It looks something more like this. Yikes, now we have a total of 159 snap points between the 6 grid points. And I am counting the 6 grid points this time into the total number of available snap points. And if I make it 1-to-1 scale like this, you can see how it might be difficult to get your entity to snap to just where you want it. And in this example, I filled in 9 grid points with the snap points, and that means we now have 289 snap points in just this little area. Okay, I hope that this video makes the correlation between the size of the grid points, and the number of snap points you use between the grid points a little bit clearer. So once again, I'll say so long and see you next time when we discuss the origin point of your drawing, what it is, and how to change its location if you need to. We'll see you then.